Welcome to Miss Scarlett. Subscribe and don't miss out on Patreon. Have fun! The clicking of heels felt on the narrow alley as Sam cautiously made his way forward, clutching a crumpled piece of paper with hastily scrawled directions. Streetlights cast long shadows across the unfamiliar buildings, their warm glow doing little to calm his frayed nerves. He tugged at the hem of his navy blue cocktail dress, simultaneously trying to smooth out imaginary wrinkles and cover more of his exposed legs. "This can't be right," Sam muttered under his breath, squinting at the barely legible handwriting. The address he'd been given was supposed to lead to an upscale bar hosting a charity gala, but the dilapidated warehouses surrounding him looked worlds away from anywhere that might host such an event. A gust of wind whipped down the alley, causing Sam to shiver and wrap his arms tightly around himself. The silky fabric of the dress offered little protection against the chill night air. He cursed himself for forgetting a jacket in his rush to get ready and leave his apartment unnoticed by nosy neighbors. Pausing at an intersection, Sam glanced left and right, seeing nothing but more abandoned industrial buildings stretching into the darkness. His heart sank as the realization settled in. He was hopelessly lost in an unfamiliar part of the city, dressed in a way that made him stick out like a sore thumb. Panic began to set in as scenarios of being mugged, or worse, flashed through his mind. "Get it together," Sam chided himself, taking a deep breath to calm his racing thoughts. "You've come too far to give up now." He thought back to the hours spent carefully applying makeup, styling his wig, and squeezing into shapewear to achieve the feminine silhouette he'd always dreamed of. For years, he'd only dared to cross-dress in the privacy of his own home, but tonight was meant to be his coming-out party of sorts. The charity gala had seemed like the perfect opportunity to finally be his authentic self in public, surrounded by open-minded people who wouldn't judge. Now all of that meticulous preparation felt wasted as Sam stood alone on a deserted street corner, completely out of his element. Part of him wanted to give up, go home, and forget this whole ill-fated adventure. But a stronger part refused to let fear win out over the courage it had taken to get this far. Taking another steadying breath, Sam squared his shoulders and chose a direction at random, figuring any path was better than standing still. His heels clacked rhythmically against the cracked pavement as he strode purposefully forward, feigning a confidence he didn't quite feel. After a few blocks, the warehouses gave way to more residential buildings. Warm light spilled from windows, and the sounds of music and laughter drifted on the breeze. Sam felt a glimmer of hope. Surely, in a more populated area, he could find someone to give him directions, or at least point him towards public transportation. As he rounded a corner, a group of young people came into view, laughing and chatting animatedly as they made their way down the sidewalk. Sam's stomach clenched with anxiety. Part of him wanted to duck into a doorway and hide, but he steeled himself and continued walking. He needed help, and these strangers were his best chance at the moment. The group quieted as Sam approached, several heads turning to look at him curiously. He felt heat rising to his cheeks, hyper-aware of how out of place he must appear. Just as he was about to open his mouth to ask for directions, a young woman with vibrantly dyed purple hair broke away from her friends and approached him with a wide smile. "Oh my God, I love your dress! That color is absolutely stunning on you!" Sam blinked in surprise, momentarily at a loss for words. Of all the reactions he'd imagined, enthusiastic compliments hadn't been high on the list. Thank you," he managed to stammer out, his voice higher than usual from nerves. The woman's smile grew even wider. "You're so welcome. I'm Zoe, by the way. Are you headed to a party? Because if not, you should totally come with us. We're going to this amazing rooftop thing, and that outfit is way too fabulous to waste." Before Sam could formulate a response, the rest of the group had crowded around, showering him with more compliments and exclamations of approval. "Seriously, where did you get those shoes? They're to die for." "Your makeup is on point, girl. Teach me your ways." "Please tell me you're coming with us. You'd fit right in with our crew." Sam's head spun as he tried to process the barrage of friendly attention. It was overwhelming, but in the best possible way. For the first time since leaving his apartment that night, he felt a genuine smile spreading across his face. "I'm Sam," he said, his earlier anxiety melting away in the face of such warm acceptance. "And I'd love to join you, if you really don't mind." A cheer went up from the group, and Sam suddenly found himself being swept along with them, Zoe's arm linked companionably through his own. As they walked, his new acquaintances peppered him with questions about his outfit and makeup routine, hanging on his every word with genuine interest. Sam marveled at how natural it felt, chatting and laughing with these strangers as if he'd known them for years. All his fears about being judged or rejected seemed silly in hindsight. These people saw him exactly as he wanted to be seen, just another girl on a night out with friends. As they turned onto a bustling street lined with bars and restaurants, Sam caught sight of his reflection in a storefront window. The person staring back at him was poised and confident, a far cry from the nervous wreck who'd been lost in an alley just an hour ago. He smiled at his mirror image, feeling truly comfortable in his own skin for perhaps the first time in his life. The group came to a stop in front of an imposing brick building, joining the queue of stylishly dressed people waiting to enter. Zoe gave Sam's arm an excited squeeze. "We're here! Just wait till you see the view from up top. It's absolutely breathtaking!" As they inched forward in line, Sam took in the eclectic crowd around them. There were people of all ages, genders, and styles, from sharply dressed professionals to punk rockers dripping in leather and studs. No one batted an eye at Sam's attire, which seemed downright conservative compared to some of the more outrageous looks on display. When they finally reached the entrance, a stern-faced bouncer gave the group a once-over before waving them through with a nod. Sam's heart raced as he stepped into a dimly lit elevator, squeezing in amongst his new friends as they ascended to the top floor. The doors slid open to reveal a sprawling rooftop oasis. Strings of twinkling lights crisscrossed overhead, casting a warm glow over the diverse crowd mingling below. The beat of electronic music pulsed through the air, not so loud as to drown out conversation, but enough to get bodies swaying. Sam followed Zoe and the others to a railing overlooking the city skyline. The view was indeed breathtaking, a glittering sea of lights stretching as far as the eye could see. He leaned against the cool metal, letting the gentle breeze ruffle his wig as he took in the magical scene before him. "Pretty amazing, right?" Zoe said, sidling up next to him with 2 colorful cocktails in hand. She passed one to Sam with a wink. "Here, this'll help you loosen up a bit. You seem like you could use it." Sam accepted the drink gratefully, taking a long sip of the fruity concoction. "Thanks. And yeah, this is incredible. I can't believe how this night has turned out." Zoe raised an eyebrow, curiosity evident in her expression. "Oh, sounds like there's a story there. Care to share with your new bestie?" Sam hesitated for a moment, but the alcohol hitting his system combined with Zoe's open, friendly demeanor made him want to open up. He launched into the tale of how he'd gotten lost trying to find the charity gala, leaving out the part about it being his first time cross-dressing in public. Something told him Zoe and her friends would be accepting of that too, but he wasn't quite ready to bare his soul completely to virtual strangers. Zoe listened intently, her eyes widening as Sam described wandering the deserted streets alone. When he finished, she placed a comforting hand on his arm. "Oh, honey, I'm so glad we found you. Nobody should have to feel scared and alone like that, especially not when they're looking as fierce as you do tonight." Sam felt a lump forming in his throat, touched by Zoe's genuine concern and kindness. "I really appreciate that. And I'm glad you found me, too. This is turning out to be way more fun than some stuffy charity thing anyway." Zoe grinned and clinked her glass against Sam's. "Damn straight it is. Now come on, let's go mingle. There are about 1 million people here who need to be jealous of that dress." For the next few hours, Sam found himself swept up in a whirlwind of new experiences. Zoe introduced him to what felt like half the people at the party, proudly showing him off like a prized new friend. He danced until his feet ached, the alcohol and music combining to quiet his self-consciousness until he was moving as freely and sensually as any of the women around him. During a brief reprieve from the dance floor, Sam found himself chatting with a handsome man who'd been eyeing him appreciatively all night. As they talked, Sam marveled at how natural it felt to flirt and be flirted with while presenting as female. There was a freedom in it he'd never experienced before, allowing him to be more open and playful than he typically was in his day-to-day life. As the night wore on, Sam lost track of time completely. He was having so much fun that the ache in his feet from hours in heels barely registered. It wasn't until he noticed the sky beginning to lighten on the horizon that he realized how late, or rather early, it had gotten. Zoe appeared at his elbow, looking slightly disheveled but still radiant. "Hey girl, a bunch of us are heading to this amazing 24-hour diner for some greasy hangover prevention food. You in?" Sam's stomach growled at the mention of food, reminding him that he hadn't eaten since early the previous evening. Still, a hint of his earlier anxiety crept back in at the thought of venturing out in public again, especially in the harsh light of day. Seeming to sense his hesitation, Zoe squeezed his hand reassuringly. "Don't worry, it's totally chill. The staff there have seen it all, trust me. Plus, you look incredible still. Way better than the rest of us hot messes." Sam looked around at the group gathering to leave, taking in their smudged makeup and wrinkled clothes. Zoe was right. Next to them, he still looked practically fresh from the salon. The realization bolstered his confidence, washing away the last of his doubts. "All right, I'm in. Lead the way." The ragtag group stumbled out of the elevator and into the early morning light, blinking against the sudden brightness. Sam's legs felt wobbly after hours in heels, but Zoe linked arms with him, providing welcome support as they made their way down the still quiet streets. As they walked, Sam found himself hanging back slightly from the main group, content to observe the easy camaraderie between the friends. Zoe noticed his quietness and slowed her pace to match his. "Penny for your thoughts?" she asked gently. Sam considered for a moment before responding. "I guess I'm just processing everything. This night has been so surreal, in the best possible way. I keep waiting to wake up and find out it was all a dream." Zoe nodded understandingly. "I get that. Sometimes the universe throws us these magical moments when we least expect them. The trick is learning to just roll with it and enjoy the ride." "You're certainly good at that," Sam observed, I've never met anyone so effortlessly welcoming to a total stranger. How do you do it? Zoe shrugged, a wistful expression crossing her face. I guess I just try to be the person I needed when I was younger and struggling to find my place in the world. Everyone deserves to feel accepted and celebrated for who they are. The words hit Sam like a punch to the gut, bringing tears to his eyes. He blinked them back, not wanting to ruin his mascara, but Zoe noticed anyway. She stopped walking and turned to face him fully. Hey, what's wrong? Did I say something to upset you? Sam shook his head emphatically. No, not at all. It's just, that really resonates with me, more than you know. Zoe studied his face for a long moment, realization dawning in her eyes. Oh, sweetie, is this your first time out like this? Sam nodded, not trusting himself to speak. Zoe immediately pulled him into a tight hug, ignoring the curious looks from their friends up ahead. I'm so proud of you, she whispered fiercely. It takes so much courage to be your true self, especially in a world that isn't always kind to those who are different. You're amazing, and don't let anyone ever tell you otherwise. Sam hugged her back just as tightly, overcome with emotion. When they finally separated, both of their eyes were suspiciously damp. Thank you, Sam said softly, for everything. I don't know how I'll ever repay you for making this night so special. Zoe waved off his gratitude with a grin. Please, as if I'd pass up the chance to hang out with the hottest girl at the party. Although I do expect you to share your makeup secrets over breakfast. That contouring is seriously next level. Sam laughed, feeling lighter than he had in years. As they hurried to catch up with the rest of the group, he marveled at how much his life had changed in just a few short hours. What had started as a terrifying solo mission had blossomed into a night of adventure, self-discovery, and, most importantly, genuine human connection. The diner was a cozy, hole-in-the-wall place, all chrome and neon, with the heady scent of coffee and grease hanging in the air. True to Zoe's word, the weathered waitress barely batted an eye at their motley crew, simply gesturing for them to seat themselves with a grunt. They crowded into a large corner booth, a tangle of limbs and laughter as everyone jostled for position. Sam found himself wedged between Zoe and a statuesque drag queen he'd been introduced to as Violet earlier in the night. He felt a momentary pang of envy at how effortlessly glamorous Violet looked even after hours of partying, but pushed the feeling aside. This wasn't a competition, he reminded himself. There was room for all types of beauty and self-expression. As they perused the greasy spoon menu, trading commentary on the merits of various hangover cures, Sam took a moment to really look at the people around him. They were a diverse bunch, different ages, races, styles, and gender presentations. Yet there was a palpable sense of found family among them, an easy acceptance that made Sam's heart ache with longing. Zoe must have sensed his wistfulness because she nudged him gently with her elbow. You okay there, chickadee? You're looking a little lost in thought. Sam smiled ruefully. Just thinking about how lucky you all are to have found each other. It must be nice to have a group where you can truly be yourself. A chorus of ahs went up around the table, and Sam flushed as he realized everyone had been listening. Honey, you're one of us now, Violet declared, draping an arm around Sam's shoulders. Once you've shared a 4 a.m. plate of disco fries, you're family for life. There were enthusiastic nods of agreement all around, and Sam felt a lump forming in his throat for what felt like the 100th time that night. Thank you, he managed. That means more than you know. Zoe squeezed his hand under the table. We mean it, you know. You don't have to go back to feeling alone or hiding who you are. We've got your back." Before Sam could respond, their food arrived in a flurry of plates clattering onto the table. The conversation shifted to lighter topics as everyone dug in, but Sam could feel the lingering warmth of acceptance surrounding him like a cozy blanket. As he shoveled syrup-drenched pancakes into his mouth, Sam found himself opening up more and more. He shared stories about his childhood, his struggles with gender identity, and his dreams for the future. It was cathartic to finally voice thoughts and feelings he'd kept bottled up for so long, and his new friends proved to be attentive and supportive listeners. In turn, they regaled him with tales of their own journeys of self-discovery and acceptance. There were moments of laughter and tears as they bonded over shared experiences and offered words of encouragement to each other. Sam marveled at how quickly he'd gone from feeling utterly alone to being part of this vibrant, loving community. As the first rays of true sunlight began to filter through the diner's grimy windows, Sam stifled a yawn. The adrenaline that had been keeping him going was starting to wear off, leaving bone-deep exhaustion in its wake. He wasn't the only one feeling it. Around the table, people were slumping in their seats or resting heads on shoulders. "All right, my lovelies, I think it's time we call it a night. Or morning, rather," Zoe announced, stifling her own yawn. "Sam, where do you live? We'll make sure you get home safe." Sam hesitated, suddenly realizing he had no idea where he was in relation to his apartment. I'm not actually sure how to get back from here. I was pretty lost even before I ran into you guys." "Don't worry, I've got you," Zoe said with a mischievous grin. "My place is just a few blocks from here. You can crash on my couch and we'll figure out an Uber in the morning. Sound good?" Sam nodded, relieved he wouldn't have to navigate the subway in his current state. The walk to Zoe's turned out to be mercifully short, and soon they were stumbling up the stairs to her apartment. The space was cozy and eclectic, filled with colorful throws, vintage concert posters, and an impressive collection of houseplants. Sam marveled at the homey atmosphere, feeling an immediate sense of comfort and ease. "Home sweet home," Zoe sighed, kicking off her shoes and rubbing her feet with a wince. God, how do women deal with heels every day? Guess it's a good thing I rarely leave my house. Hope you enjoyed the story so far. The rest will be available on Patreon.